Shalom, shalom, giving all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakadash, and double honors unto the other apostles, other bishops, and brothers at Great Millstone. Salutations to the elect. This is your brother I Banyamian here to share another lesson. Before I get into the lesson, I'm going to read this portion of scripture, Matthew chapter 6. Alright, a verse from the Lord's Prayer. Matthew chapter 6 and 11. Give us this day our daily bread. In the NLT, give us today the food we need. Give us this day our daily bread. Lord willing, this lesson be edifying unto you. Like the reason why I read that portion of scripture is because this is what you need to be asking for. Asking Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for in these last days. We really don't have long in this kingdom. Alright, if you're believing that this place is about to make a turnaround, it's about to be healed, it's about to bounce back, you want to have a surplus, right, of wealth to sustain yourself in this kingdom. Right, and that is becoming fleeting. Right, wealth is fleeing from a lot of people. Right, which is why you have a lot of people that are anxious, depressed, and hoping that this place it turns around, but it's not. Right, we know, for you believers, we know that the mark of the beast is coming, the implantable device, the RFID microchip is coming. All currency is going to be put on that to be used to buy and sell. So we know that if we are believers, we cannot take such a thing, right? Which is going to make it difficult or impossible for us to work, pay rent, pay bills, own a vehicle, register a vehicle, so on and so forth, right? So we are looking for the kingdom to come. So we know that a surplus of wealth is not going to benefit us in that day, right? So we just want our daily bread. This is where you need to ask Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and be thankful for the job that he has given you, where you don't have to rob or defraud people of their labor, of their income, right? Or lie to them, because the Lord hates a liar, right? So that you may eat, that you may feed yourself and your family, man. Be very grateful, right? Because these people and institutions that do these things during the time of Jacob's trouble, when times get really harder, in order for them to continue to make money, they're gonna have to up the ante of the wickedness. All right. Every day the love of many is waxing cold. People and the business practices that they have, very scammious, if that's a word, and it's getting worse every day, right? So people and businesses is going to be very treacherous and wicked in how they practice their day-to-day life. So thank Yahweh, whatever job you have, thank Yahweh Hashem Yahushai for it, where you don't have to sin in order to get income, right? Because we ain't going to need these jobs anyway. Most High, if you be of the elect, the Most High is going to have miracles for us. He's going to show out, right, for his elect. He's going to feed his shepherds. He's going to feed his sheep, right? Those that teach and those that follow, honestly, he's going to take care of us. So thank you, Abba Shemi Ashai. Now when you pray for the job that you have and just taking care of your day-to-day needs. And the elect is going to see it, right? No one would have to tell them that the Lord is providing their day-to-day needs. They're going to see it, especially when they get worse. He is going to be present in their life like no other. All right, so I wanted to get into this account this woman was making from this article by the Steel Horse Rides, published by Madison Case. It says, woman says her mechanic kept finding new problems until a second shop said half the repairs were never needed. Alright, so which is why a lot of times it's good to get a second opinion on the repairs, or try and become familiar with your vehicle, man. There's a book, it's called a manual, Haynes Manual, for older vehicle. I think they stopped making the paper or the book manual after 2022, but they have the manual online. As best as your ability, try and learn your car, or at least the parts, as best as possible. So this way, scrupulous mechanics won't, defraud you, man. But all this shit is guaranteed to come down. And so I'm gonna read that Kong share for scriptures and close it out. Lord willing, the lesson be edifying unto the elect. Alright, so those of you who don't have to do these things in order to maintain your lifestyle, count it all joy, man. Alright? Because the sin of men is going to increase, and we want to offend less. Alright? It says, she thought she was doing the responsible adult thing, staying on top of her car maintenance, before it turned into a full-blown catastrophe. The car was a few years old, nothing fancy, but it was her lifeline. Commute errands, weekend trips, all of it. So when it started making a faint squeal on cold mornings, she didn't ignore it or crank up the radio. She booked an appointment with the neighborhood mechanic, who co-workers swore by. The shop was the kind of place that looked reassuring from the outside. Handwritten signs taped in the window, old tires stacked in the corner, a waiting room that smelled like burnt coffee and rubber. The mechanic was friendly in that practiced way, calling her ma'am, asking if she wanted the estimate printed or texted. She expected brakes or a belt. She didn't expect what turned into a weeks-long slow drip of, oh, and there's one more thing. It started normal, almost boring. You've got a worn serpentine belt, he told her. And she nodded, because that sounded plausible, and she'd rather replace a belt than be stranded. She approved it, paid, and drove off, feeling proud of herself for being proactive. 2 days later, her phone lit up with the shop's number again. The first surprise call. The mechanic said he had been thinking about her car. That's unusual. They usually don't call it back. Once they do a job, they usually don't call it back. I've never had a mechanic call me back for a repair like that. And then it's a woman, so a lot of times they try to take advantage. So it says, the mechanic said he'd been thinking about her car and wanted her to swing by. When she returned, he showed her a quick photo on his phone, something dark and oily, and said there was a leak starting. The way he framed it was, this can't wait. It was, this could get dangerous fast, with the tone that makes your stomach drop. And she's a woman being emotional, so let's see what happens next, right? He laid out a repair list with a total that made her blink twice. When she hesitated, he softened it with options. They could do the most urgent part now and handle the rest later. It was the exact kind of compromise that makes you feel like you're being sensible, even while you're being steered. She asked carefully if the leak was connected to the squeal. He shook his head and said the squeal was probably from the belt, but while we're in there, they might as well address the other issue before it turned into a bigger one. God damn, why does this thing keep popping up? Alright, it says the phrase while we're in there stuck because it kept coming back like a chorus. All right. Continuing on, it says the repairs start stacking up. And any of you who have endured these kind of things, you know what I mean, it could be extremely frustrating. Cars were never really cheap to maintain. It was cheaper back then, but now it's expensive, and the parts has shot up exponentially. All right. I had one time I took my car. I had a good relationship with the service manager at a dealership I used to visit every now and again, and I took my car in there for the water pump when I was changing the oil. When I was changing the oil on my car, you know, while I lay under the car, I always look around for any worn items that may need replacing. So when I was looking around, I saw that the water pump was dripping through the weep hole. That's a sign that your water pump is failing, right? Because when I was driving, the temperature gauge would like kind of go up slightly and then come down, go up slightly and come down. So I wondered what it was. So when I changed the oil and I saw the weep hole leaking coolant or dripping coolant from the water pump area, I know it was that. So ordered the part. The water pump was very cheap, straightforward repair. Right, took it in, and when I took it in, the mechanic added additional work that needed to be done. The mechanic said that the radiator was leaking profusely. So I was like, how come? You know what I mean? Because they know that I maintain my car very well. Anything that I could do on myself, I do it. Anything that require more than two hands, I'll take it to them sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And then the room or the garage area where you take the car in, the floor is white. So if there was any coolant leak in there, the service manager, he would have seen it, which I've had a good relationship with him. I've known him for years. You understand? And he walked me back up there with the car on the lift, and he showed me the hole. And he was like, I was talking to him, and he was like, we're going to replace the radiator free for you, because it looked like the mechanic, he used a sharp object to puncture the hole in the radiator to create more work. So you see, the mechanic did that. So you see, so the service manager told me, don't worry about it. They're going to give him a brand new radiator installed. And after they installed the radiator, everything was clear. I never took my car, back there because of the mechanics. I made a complaint, and I never took my car, back there. So you see the corruption, and that was years ago. How much more so now when the cost of everything is up, evils have increased. You understand? So when Yaba Shimei shall return, he coming back. That wicked, that more wicked world. The worry wicked now, but it's gonna be pure evil, man. You know? Let's see where I left off. I'm gonna get a script here since I'm in there. I'm gonna get into Proverbs a little bit. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 2. It says, contrast of the wicked and of the righteous and the wicked. Proverbs chapter 10 and verse 2. It says, treasures of wickedness profit nothing, but righteousness delivered from death. Right? So you want to live, so you get a crown of life, man. You want to live upright. Repenting. In the NLT, tainted wealth has no lasting value, but right living can save your life. I'll add to say this though, that Edomite shops that do these things and practice these things, right, they last longer because their covenant is not with Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. He did not give them his laws, right? Now, a lot of places they sell cars and do repairs. So now you have scamming by businesses, legit businesses, in selling you vehicles, scamming in customer service, fixing your vehicle. So people wouldn't have no relief, man. This is why it's good to have you know, the comfort of the spirit of Yahweh Shemi Shai, man. You understand? Because all these things mounting up is gonna make these people crazy. You understand? But with Jake businesses, I noticed when Jake tried to practice or tap into that evil that Esau does with his businesses, when I come back, Jake mechanic shop, it closed down. It don't last long. And that is Jake punishment to repent, because the Lord's covenant is with him. The scripture said that he judge will punish us in measure, right? So usually when Jake has his shop and he try to tap into doing evil for gain, right? By the time I come back there again, when I drive past there, the shop is closed down, everything boarded up, everything packed away, business closed, boom. You understand? It says, continuing on, he laid out a repair list with a total that made her blink twice. I read that already. The repairs started stacking up. After that, every visit had a new add-on, and not the small kind. One week it was an Asian battery, but apparently tested fine last month. But was suddenly borderline. And so you get your things that require a repair, because of the concern. You know what I'm saying? This place is evil, man. But we ain't gotta worry about any of this long for long, man. Another time it was an issue with her suspension when he said he could feel when he drove it around the block, even though she hadn't noticed a single wobble or clump. He walked her out to the car and pointed at parts with a grease-stained finger, narrating worst-case scenarios. If it fails on the highway, you could lose control. If that, remember, the most I judges these people, man. If that hose pops, you overheat and crack the engine. She wasn't clueless about cars, but she wasn't confident enough to argue. And the vocabulary alone made it feel like she was trying to debate someone in their own courtroom. She started doing the math in her head and hated it. The car payment was long gone, but the repairs were starting to look like she'd signed up for a new one anyway. And it wasn't just money. Each time she dropped the car off, she rearranged work calls, begged rides, juggled plans, and waited for the "we found something else" text like it was a weather alert. The turning point wasn't one big bill, it was the pattern. The estimates kept landing right on the edge of too much to swallow, but not enough to walk away from. And the mechanic always had a reason it couldn't wait. She started noticing how he had talked to her differently when her brother came. See, a man is there with her one day. Less doom, more explanation, fewer dramatic pauses. So you see, they're less likely to take advantage of of a man. And this is what we had to deal with in this place, man. Alright. Which will lead me to Proverbs again, chapter 15. Contrast of the upright and the wicked, verse 27. It says, "He that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house." Like what I mentioned with Jake. When Jake tried to practice these same wicked business practices, Jake business don't last long. Alright. So he that is greedy of gain troubleth his own house, but he that hateth gifts shall live by bribes. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that extra buck that you can make by lying to somebody or charging somebody more for something when it's unjust, don't do it, man. Let him go pray to the Most High, tell him what you need, you understand, and wait, wait however long you gotta wait and stuff for it. Wherever it is you gotta do that's legal, do it. Work wherever, because you don't want to have those sins on your ledger, man. You want to repent every day and offend less as much as possible. All right. It says, continuing on, the moment she finally got suspicious, what really got under, and the thing a lot of people is going through this, man. What really got under her skin was the way the mechanic presented the problems, like they'd been obvious all along. He'd say things like, "I'm surprised you didn't feel that," or this has probably been going on for a while. It made her feel blame for not catching issues she didn't even know existed, and it kept her in the anxious, apologetic mindset where you just want to fix things and stop feeling stupid. Then came the big one. He told her she needed a major repair involving multiple components, expensive parts, lots of labor, and a timeline that sounded like the car might not be safe to drive home. He said it casually, like he was informing her the sky was blue, and then slid the code across the counter like it was a menu. She did what a lot of people do when they're cornered by a big decision. She asked for a little time. "Can I think about it?" she said. And he didn't love that. He pressed, reminded her the car could fail without warning, and he could fit her in if she said yes right now. Yeah, man, these people, they gotta be destroyed, man. All willing, you know what I mean? We be of the elect, and Yahweh Shai save us, Lord willing. We could look down on this place. No, when we look down on this place, burden, I pray for, I pray that joy, man. You know what I'm saying? Just knowing that all this shit is being destroyed, man. Golly. Instead of agreeing, she asked for a full itemization list and any photos or test results they had. It wasn't an accusation, but you could feel the temperature change. He printed the paperwork, and suddenly he was busier, shorter, already halfway turned away from her like the conversation was inconvenient. Yeah, that's why you know you're dealing with a scammer. The second shop and the uncomfortable reality. She took the car to another shop across town, the kind of tiny office and a dog asleep behind the counter. She didn't show up ranting. She just asked for a diagnosis and said she'd been told she needed several urgent repairs. The second mechanic didn't roll his eyes or call anyone a scammer. He just said, "Let's take a look." The difference was immediate in a way that felt almost humiliating. Instead of a rapid-fire list of disasters, the second shop walked her through what they were actually seeing. They put her car up, showed her where a leak would be if it existed, pointed to parts that looked normal for the car's age, and explained what wear would look like versus what the actual failure looked like. And then came the line that made her feel both vindicated and sick. Several of the urgent repairs weren't needed at all. Not maybe later, not we'd keep an eye on it, just not needed. A couple of other items were real, but nowhere near the emergency she'd been sold. And one of the most expensive proposed fixes didn't match the symptoms or the test results. She sat there with her hands in her lap, looking for her own paperwork, like it had changed languages. The second mechanic wasn't gleeful about it. He just kept saying, "If it were my car, I wouldn't do that right now. And here's what I prioritize: a calm, practical, and a calmness made the first sharp urgency feel even louder in hindsight. See, and when you're doing things upright, the Most High, bless you, man. And what people have to realize that even though, you may have things one moment and the Most High took it from you, that does not mean that He hates you. That does not mean He's not gonna bless you. That He doesn't have other blessings for you. We are gonna lose a lot. The elect is gonna lose a lot of material things on this side during the time of Jacob's trouble and the hour of temptation. They're gonna lose a lot. They're gonna have to move around. But that don't mean that the Most High ain't gonna be with them. See, and that is the thing people don't understand. They feel that if they don't have an address, a roof, or a vehicle, that don't mean that the Lord ain't with them. You know what I mean? No, He's gonna preserve, protect, and He's gonna feed, and He's gonna shelter the elect in these last days. We just had to wait and see how the Most High gonna do this thing, man. You know. A little bit more, and I'm gonna close it out. Just reading it for context for the story's sake, because a lot of people is going through this heartening experiences, man. Not only with their vehicles, but insurance claims, right? It could be car insurance, home insurance claims, whatever it is, man. These businesses, they're not paying out anything as far as the insurance goes, and it looked like a lot of the businesses, they have adopted hidden scamming to their customers in order to keep their lights on, man. Look like that is the only way that they figure they could succeed, not in just honest business practices, which the Most High love. You know what I'm saying? Trying to confront the first mechanic, she didn't storm back and screaming. She called first, asked to speak to the mechanic, and told him she got a second opinion. She said it carefully, leaving room for maybe there was a misunderstanding, because accusing someone of lying is a nuclear bomb, and she knew it. He didn't meet her in the middle. He got defensive fast, saying other shops miss things all the time, and that he was being thorough. When she mentioned specific items, repairs the second shop said were needed, he pivoted to vagueness, talking about prevention and what he would recommend for safety. It was the same language as before, just now aimed at making her doubt her own eyes. She asked for proof, the bad parts and measurements, the test result. That's when he started sounding insulted, like she was personally attacking his integrity. He reminded her that she'd authorized the work and that he'd done what she agreed to, see? Paying it back on her. And that she didn't trust him. She could take her business elsewhere. The way these people running businesses now, man, is like, if they can't scam you, they don't want the business, or they don't want the sale. They don't even want to start with the right thing. They rather just try to scam you. And if they can't scam you, they're done with you pretty much. And you have a lot of people that is like that in these last days, man. So y'all gotta be careful, man. You gotta be careful, women. You gotta be careful, man. You understand? It says she did, but she wasn't done. The problem wasn't only the repair she avoided, it was the money already spent on things she now couldn't tell were real or inflated. You see, and that is time and money you don't get back, especially if you have one vehicle and you're heavily reliant on that one vehicle. Alright, it says once you start questioning it, the whole timeline gets blurry. Was that battery actually leak, or was it just convenient? Was that earlier leak even there, or was it a smudge in a photo that could have been anything? She asked the second shop if they could tell what had recently been replaced and whether it looked necessary. They could confirm some work had been done, but necessity is harder to prove after the fact, especially when the old parts are gone and the original shop didn't document much beyond generic line items. That's what made her angriest, not just the possibility of being upsold, but how neatly the whole thing was insinuated from being challenged. And yeah, that's the most I too fast to discernment, man. Look at people's eyes, right? Their demeanor and stuff, and don't be afraid to walk away, man. In these laws, you gotta be in the spirit of not being attached to things. You understand? If you can't get something done here, go there or elsewhere, to get it done. Right? Yeah, pray for spiritual discernment, man. It says by the end, she wasn't celebrating. She was sitting with that specific kind of frustration that comes from realizing you acted in good faith, but someone might have treated that as an opportunity. The car still ran. The second shop gave her a reasonable plan, but she was left staring at receipts like they were little IOUs to her own trust, paid in full, non-refundable, and impossible to get back. See, without a fight, she wasn't sure she could win. And that brings us to the end of the article. So trust is deteriorating quickly in the society. All right. Even in relationship, where you are actually close to someone, the trust is no longer there. And these things are going to increase. Alright, so we are living in some new time. Let's see here. One guy said, took my Jeep to be repainted. It took several weeks. And when I finally got it back, the repairman took all my chrome knobs off and left me with rusted knobs because I didn't prove it. I was out. The repairman won. Hard lesson learned. This is why a lot of people working on their own cars now, man. You understand? It's going to continue, not only with cars and stuff, but a lot of things, man. This place is very wicked. And I'll end with 1 Timothy chapter 6 and chapter 6 and verse 10. Now this is for people in ministry, to guard against, greed and accepting, bribes and stuff, but can also be applied in this situation. This is 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil, which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith and pierced themselves through many sorrows, right? So the love of evil, the love of money, Salakia, right? It's not, working hard for it or anything like that, but the love of it. And these people, they would do any sort of wickedness or unscrupulous business practices in order to gain wealth. Scripture talk about ill-gotten gain. You understand? So it's not going to last, man. These things that they're doing is not going to last. The Most High getting ready to come and destroy all these things, and they are going to be judged and destroyed in these last days. Alright, so pray for spiritual discernment. Ask the Most High to show you the right place to go to get things done, and pay attention to people. So where at least half the time you don't have to go through these things. Just be careful out there, man. Alright, so Lord will end this lesson as I define unto the elect. Until the next time. Shalom.